Welcome to In Pursuit with Pastor Bill.
Hey, I'm just a simple guy in pursuit of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, wild game, fish that swim under the ice, tender smoked meat, tasty grilled meat, and Denise.
In this hour, we are going to be talking about all of that and a whole lot more. Bill has been with Maranatha since 2005 and the campus pastor at Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus since 2011. Come along and join In Pursuit.
Here we are.
Yay.
Welcome back to another episode of In Pursuit. Obviously, you can find it live right here on Shane, do a WAJC Your Life Radio for us.
WAJC at yourliferadio.com.
I'm not sure how awkward I feel. I don't know.
There's way too many voices I can't control.
Yeah, they
happens.
just go.
It just comes out.
Yeah.
That's right.
Let's see who wants to talk right now. Right. That's good. Well, let's see. I'm here. My name is Bill.
My name is Denise.
Shane.
And I'm Alice.
Wonderful. That's great. I can't wait to see what Shane does over the next 45 minutes or so.
I'm a little scared.
Super exciting, I think. Super exciting. But it's great.
Super exciting.
Great if you're all here. Great. I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
As always, I want to invite you, if you're listening live or at a different date, let us know you're listening, and we would love just to know you're out there. I want to invite you to do something else. If you listen to any of the shows here on WAJC, our In Pursuit show, Pastor Mike's Breaking or Something to Think About show, and if you go to realchurch.org, there's a couple of youth kids here from the Forest Lake campus that have a podcast out there called Youth POV. You can check that out. But if you hear something you like, please don't hesitate to share that on your social media platforms just to continue to, I don't know, share what we got going here. Get the word out, give people something to think about, to pursue.
Something to pursue.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I think it's good stuff. So it's great to see everybody.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
I look forward to this hour every week. Just get out of the office, just kind of get to chat and do something that I really think is fun to do.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know podcasting is kind of a big deal now, but to get to sit in a cool booth like this and talk like you know what you're talking about, I think it's kind of fun.
True.
I think it's fun.
And sound smarter.
Yeah, and we get to sound smarter. That's right. Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, let's see. We're going to continue as far as kind of our topic today, what we've been talking about the last few weeks, which is kind of some relationship advice. Last week we talked about how to fight fair. So we're going to get into all that shortly. But we don't have a chicken update. The rooster's doing good. He's doing his job. He's finally got the hens corralled, and
he doesn't have to run across the yard several times a day, just back and forth. He doesn't have to do that anymore.
He just was going crazy.
Really?
Yeah, just running. Like they're over here and they're over there and they're over here, and he'd just run and then like scatter and then run again, and yeah, he's doing much better.
He was very frazzled, running everywhere.
And how are the teenagers doing?
They're a mess.
Yeah.
They're teenagers, like they are, like they might as well be teenagers because that's what they act like. Like they don't go to bed. Yeah. Sometimes they'll walk in the coop. Sometimes they'll perch on the swing on the porch. Sometimes they'll go to the lilac bush and perch.
Yeah. Teenagers.
They're a mess.
They don't know what they're doing.
We put them in the garage with the littles because we have the smalls, mediums, and the largest. So one night we thought, well, we'll try and get these four to bond. And so they were in there, but then at some point they were pecking at them. So then they got grounded, so they no longer could enjoy the comfort.
Took their phones away.
What?
Took their phones away.
We took their phones away. That's right. So, yeah, not much chicken. But food. Let's talk food for a few minutes because we like food.
We do.
And we usually are talking smoking things. We haven't really smoked anything new or different over the last week. I think we used it. I can't remember what for. Oh, no, you know what we did? We used the Blackstone. We made some breakfast on the Blackstone, some pancakes and bacon and stuff like that.
Yeah, for the grands.
What I thought is just to take a couple of minutes and let Denise talk about soup, because here's the deal. So Denise really is a great cook, and she would not yeah, she just kind of rolls her eyes at me because she doesn't look at herself that way. But she's really a great cook. And one of the things that I love about your cooking is that, like, I can look around in the fridge and think, God, there's nothing to eat in here. And she can take the exact same fridge full of food and make something that's just outstanding. Like not even that you got to suffer through to eat, but like it is out of this world delicious. And one of those things is soup. Denise makes fantastic out of this world soup. Now I've never really been a soup guy,
True.
but I like.
Bill likes to eat his soup with a fork.
Yeah,
So it's more of a
Sounds
hot
like a
dish.
really good soup.
it is a good soup. Yeah. But the flavors that you're able to pull together, and so here's what I was thinking is, I know we have like a variety of people listening, but I know there's some people like you want to cook, but it's very intimidating to cook. And I'm going to start with this. Years ago, you were talking about cooking to one or both of my daughters. And one of the things you said was to just try it because you can always order a pizza. It's not like you're going to starve if
Absolutely
you try
true.
it and
Yeah.
it doesn't work. And I think that's why what you do is so successful, because you just put stuff together and it ends up delicious. But it starts with, I'm not afraid to just try and do it. So tell us, just take a few minutes if you would, educate us on making soup.
Well, this might take a little longer than just a couple
That
minutes.
sounds good.
Okay.
I'm just gonna
because
lean back.
There's so much in my head when
Oh.
you say, how do you make soup? And if you don't have a recipe, it's really hard to describe how to make soup. But soup is one of my favorite meals to make. And I call it a meal because it is a meal. You can add bread or crackers with plenty of butter, but soup is really your meal. You don't have to do anything other than the soup. So if you have a recipe to follow, you just follow that recipe, and eventually enough recipes and you'll go, okay, I don't like this about a recipe, so you can get a recipe and tweak it even before you've made it the first time. It's just a matter of practice and learning what works and what you like. But let's say you look in the fridge and you have a whole lot of wrinkly old vegetables and some leftover meat in your fridge. Like we did the other day. We had 2 steaks left that were a little tough, not because we made them wrong, but because it was like a tough cut of meat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had 2 of those left. We had eaten 2 and had 2 of those left. And then I had a wrinkly pepper, yellow pepper, some radishes. I think there was a wrinkly carrot. And
We end up with
some
a lot of
celery.
wrinkly
Well,
vegetables.
because if you have enough vegetables in the fridge, you can't eat them all before they get wrinkly. Like you go to the grocery store twice a week and you're going to end up with wrinkly vegetables. And so we have those. Oh, Stone Soup, that book, Stone Soup, that I did with my kids.
Yeah.
They all brought wrinkly things.
Yeah.
Wrinkly potato, and they made a soup out of a stone. It's a cute story.
It is.
And I homeschooled my kids at the time, and we actually made stone soup.
That's
I
cute.
had the kids go out in the yard and get a stone, and we made stone soup. It's a really cute book. So anyway, little tip for you homeschool parents. So I had some wrinkly vegetables in those 2 steaks. So if the steaks are tough, then I take the juices from the bottom of the container and put it in a pan with some water and boil that steak so that it tenderizes a little bit. So you don't put anything in there before you do that. Then once the meat is tender, then you add the veg. And I always like to add an onion because that adds some good flavor.
Onion is good.
Yeah, and these vegetables are kind of a weird combination. Radish, celery, pepper. So they're a weird combination. So I didn't try and go with a certain flavor, like some Mexican flavor, American. It's just the veggie soup and the broth. And then I added rice to thicken it up. And it was an okay soup. And
Oh, I think it was
all,
delicious.
Yeah, it was good. And you used up all that in your fridge, so you're not wasting all that food.
Yeah.
But the idea is anytime, it's like you need to start out with a good soup base. So the juices from those steaks, that's what I used. But anytime you make a meat in the oven, that juice that's in that pan, whether it's just a little or a lot, that's your base. And there's so many flavors in that. And you're smiling at me. What?
Well, because I'm thinking about the times where I'm just like, give me the steak. And you enjoy steak too, or
Yeah,
meat, whatever.
I do.
But you get very excited. Like you see that juice and she's already thinking about the soup she's going to make.
I do.
And I think I've actually made a mistake or two
Once or twice.
where I've dumped out that juice.
Yeah.
And I proceed directly to the pole barn
Yep.
because I'm out. I just
So
dumped out.
sad.
Yeah, because and now I've learned obviously like that's what I mean. That's why you get so excited about that
do.
juice and I've learned it makes such a delicious soup.
It does. All those flavors, all those spices and seasonings you use on your meat are great soup bases. Because whatever goes with that meat, then your soup, you add the flavors to that soup and make it that way. Like if you do cayenne and cumin, like you're making a Mexican style steak, then you make a Mexican style soup. And if it's just a flat out salt and pepper, then you can do anything with it. You can go with the more American style, or you can add the Mexican seasonings. So anyway, the liquid in the pan after cooking meat, you just keep it. You don't toss it. You just keep it, and that's your soup base. And then if you don't have that, like if you haven't saved that from your meal before, but you have leftover meat, you can use bouillon. It works just fine. Beef bouillon, chicken bouillon, whatever. Then you add your veg, your meat, and you've got a great soup. Then you want to season it to taste. My go-tos are garlic, cayenne, pepper, parsley, and depending on your soup, if you're going to go towards the Mexican side, you'd use cumin or chili powder, cilantro. All the spices that are in my thing are like there's probably more than 50. You just learn to know what goes together, and so then that's your basic soup. And if you have a lot of broth, it's a brothy soup. You can eat it like that. If you like it thicker, you can add the traditional flour and water and add it, or like cornstarch. That's easier to me because you get less lumps. And then, so sometimes I'll make a soup and it's such a big pot and it's a brothy. We eat it brothy, and then we thicken it the next time, and I add cream cheese, and that lends its own flavor.
I'm telling you what,
Yeah.
she's made soup, and like again, this is a new experience kind of for me, is watching some of this happen, and she's adding like a half a lump or chunk or a chunk of cream cheese, and I'm watching it in my head. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like that just looks gross to me. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't make sense. But I got to tell you, when she's done that, out of this world. Like I can't even tell you how good it is.
It's good. It's not a super thickener, but it changes the soup completely. It's like you're eating a completely different soup, and all you've done is add cream cheese. Yeah. So those are ways you can thicken. You can also use milled flaxseed. It's not a super. Yeah, it's not Bill's favorite. If we had a camera on you right now, people would be laughing right along with me. I don't know why Shane's not laughing. He's an oak. I don't know, but it's not Bill's
Just trying
favorite.
to figure out what flaxseed is. That's why flaxseed is not in Shane's vocabulary.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
It's healthier for you, and it does thicken the soup a little bit, but not Bill's favorite. Anyway, also if you're trying to be gluten-free, you can add potato flakes to a brothy soup and make it a thick soup. You just want to add butter if you're going to do that.
Butter makes everything better.
Butter makes that's a mantra at our house.
It's a chef's secret.
It's a chef's secret.
Yeah.
Butter makes everything
Is it?
better. Or you can combine flour and sour cream together and then add it to a soup and stir it in. Takes a little bit to get it stirred in. That makes a nice thickener. Good flavors, and you're not just adding flour. If you do add flour, I just got to say you got to cook it long enough to cook the flour. Otherwise, you just get a flour tasting soup. So make sure you cook it long enough. And when you add cream cheese, you don't have to cook it long, just until it melts. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, and then there's always creamed soups that you can just add to your soup. Like if you have a chicken-based soup and you threw veggies and potatoes in and you want it thicker, you can add a can of cream of chicken soup. Don't add the water, obviously, and that thickens it a little. So it's just kind of a matter of trying, and sometimes you have errors and sometimes you have wins, and its soup is just so good. It's like the best food and one of my favorite foods to make. But I have a simple recipe. You will use nothing from your fridge for this simple recipe. And it's a very fast soup that you can make. Like you could keep these in your pantry. It's a 5-can chicken soup. Keep it in your pantry, and if you get home late from work, or if you're just didn't have a great day and you need to get supper together, this comes together so fast you could do that very easily. So you start with a can of cream of chicken soup. Don't add the water. a can of canned chicken. If you're a meat person, you can add 2. Like if your man is a meaty guy, you can add 2 cans of chicken, a can of corn drained, a can of green chilies not drained, and then a can of black beans drained and rinsed. So here's a soup tip for everybody. Do not use kidney beans with the liquid in them ever when you're making your chili, or if you're adding kidney beans to a soup. Always drain it and always rinse it because it's that sludge. Does everybody know the kidney bean sludge in the can?
Oh, yeah. It's disgusting.
Yeah, and there are people that make chili and soups with that sludge. I think it's sludge is the word I'm looking for. Anyway, and it's just, rinse and drain. Drain and rinse your kidney beans, your black beans, your navy beans. If you get chili beans that are in the sauce, don't drain and rinse those. Keep that because that's chili sauce. It's not sludge. So anyway, you've got your 5-can chicken soup. You mix that all in a pan and heat it through, and then sprinkle on some cilantro or parsley. It's done in 10 minutes, and it's a good soup. You're not using up any wrinkly vegetables, but that's a good place to start with soup if your family likes soup, and if you need it meat heavy, just do 2 cans of chicken. There you go. There's a little recipe tip for soup.
I love it.
Yeah.
Do you know one thing you don't have to worry about is flaxseed sludge?
You don't.
Sludge.
Very true.
Sludge. Sludge.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. I just think that it's I just think it's great. I mean, I think it's cool to get people going in. And I think the most important thing, and one of the things that I love, even watching you in the kitchen, is you don't get analysis paralysis. I get analysis paralysis where I get so worried about so many different things and I start thinking about it so much that I don't do anything. And I know sometimes in life maybe that happens to you, but when it comes to cooking, you dig in and you keep tweaking and you keep adjusting, and sometimes you're like, this is fantastic. I think it's always delicious. But with your gauge, it's like, I don't need to do that again. But you kind of always go into it knowing like there's always a backup plan. So just try something. And there's times she's made meals and I'll say, this is the best thing ever. like this is the best thing ever. She's done it with venison and soups, and she'll look at me with that face on like, because she has no idea what she did. And I'm saying, I could eat this every day. Well, you're probably never going to get it again.
Well, and that's because you taste it as you're going and you tweak because it doesn't taste quite right or quite like you want it to taste. So you tweak as you go and you're not writing everything you do down. And so to replicate it is difficult. But just taste your food before you serve it to people and make sure it's something you'd want to eat, and then you're good.
That's cool.
You know?
Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have to worry about making soup.
Yeah.
But I feel much more confident. I just want to give a couple of shout outs here. Mike Veerling is listening, with a special thanks to Johnny and Megan for helping him figure out how to listen live. Megan is listening. Unfortunately, she will be out next week. We'll miss you guys. James Beeman is listening. Cindy Noble is listening. Chris Edwards is listening. And Heather is listening, saying, Denise, you need your own cooking podcast. Which I don't think would be a bad idea.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think that'd be,
She would go home every
learning
night.
everything.
What's Denise making tonight?
Yeah.
What's Denise making? It's good stuff. I think it's good. It's fun. I love your passion for cooking.
I do.
I love that you're willing to cook. We had rabbit the other day, frozen rabbit we had, and so Denise, without fear, is like, I want to cook a rabbit. And now she's excited to cook more, which means...
I need another shot at it, though.
And I get another shot.
at a rabbit.
That's what I'm thinking.
It wasn't everything that I hoped it to be.
It was fun. First time I had it, I mean, it was just so fun.
Yeah, it had a good flavor, but it has room for improvement, so I want another shot at cooking rabbit.
And then I'll take another shot at a rabbit.
Okay.
That sounds good. Well, here's what we're going to get into, like I said, and thanks for taking the time to do that. I think that's good stuff. But I want to continue this conversation with relationships, and just a reminder that in our past few episodes and even today, it's not just focused on a marriage relationship, but so much of what we talk about here really, it absolutely can be applied to a marriage or a dating fiance type thing, but it can also be there's aspects of this from a friend relationship, professional relationships, parents to kids, kids to parents. Like a lot of what we're talking about here really can be applied to any of the relationships, I think, in our lives. Right? I mean, there's some stuff even that I've thought about as we've talked about these things from a work perspective. The environment, like as coworkers that I've created with my coworkers. Do you know what I mean? Not as like leader, but coworkers. Like, have we created the right environment there? And because these are relationships. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I think a lot of this stuff applies. So before we get into continuing this conversation, though, I think we'll take our bottom of the hour break, even though we're right on the edge of it. We'll take our bottom of the hour break, and we will enjoy our Word of the Week.
Word of the Week. This is the part of the show where Denise and Bill learn new words in pursuit of knowledge and understanding of the English language, and so they can sound smarter. Smarter. I like to be smarter. This Word of the Week is a word that I ran into in a different word game I was playing, and I was like, what does that mean? The word is gammon. Gammon. Anybody know what that is?
Back.
No.
Oh.
I've heard of gamma rays. That's all I got.
Gammon.
The Hulk.
Is it a type of meat?
No, it's not. The definition is a boy who hangs around on the streets.
That's a gammon?
That's a gammon, like a street urchin. Gammon. Yeah, typically, so another word, street urchin, is a youngster, a poorly, raggedly clothed youngster. But that's not the definition of gammon. It's just, it's like a word that walks alongside gammon. Not sea urchin, street urchin. Street urchin. And interesting, gamine is the girl who hangs around on the streets, but they add another definition to gamine that isn't there for gammon. It is a small, playful, mischievous girl. Yeah. Interesting that a gammon doesn't have that and a gamine does. But anyway, so the gammon goes back to 1830 and is originally a boy assisting a glass blower. A young boy who assists a glassblower of uncertain origin. A boy of uncertain origin. I would guess that's where the street urchin comes from. But apparently those were the only kind that assisted glassblowers back then. I don't understand. But an example of this word used in a sentence on the internet was, the door is opened by Mrs. Etienne, a 75-year-old wry, sinewy woman with a gammon haircut. Is that a good picture? Like a young boy's haircut? Short.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys were not following that at all.
I didn't understand
I was
how
so following
Yeah.
that.
Whatever.
Yes.
It's a very descriptive. Can you picture this 75-year-old wry, sinewy woman with a gammon haircut?
Yes. Now I can.
Yeah, it's such a descriptive word. Anyway, so we know if we don't use our new word, we will lose our new word. So I would like to use gammon in my own sentence.
Is this capricious? Capacious?
Capacious.
I'm thinking caprese salads.
He's hungry. So here's my sentence. When Bill talks about riding his bike all over the streets of Wyoming as a kid, in my mind, he looks like a little gammon with mischievous twinkle in his eye. Were you like gammon riding your bike?
Probably
on the
was.
street?
Yep, I probably was.
And so that was an accurate picture of my word of the
I
week.
like it. There was a bunch of us that were gammons.
Bunch of little gammons on their bikes riding around Wyoming.
Yep.
That's good. That's our word of the week.
You're listening to In Pursuit with me, Pastor Bill, a production of WAJC, Your Life Radio on 88.1 and 91.7 FM. WAJC is owned and operated by Maranatha Assembly of God in Forest Lake, Minnesota. If you would like to visit Maranatha Chisago Lakes campus, we have 4 weekend services to choose from. Visit MaranathaChisago.org to learn more and to check out some past messages. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like this. It's kind of like it's you the first half.
That was a lot of talking. I'm just about
Are you done now?
I
I almost used her words
I
for
am
the day.
not the word person in this relationship.
I'll look this direction then for the rest. I won't have any expectations.
Just about done.
That's good stuff. Thanks for doing all that. It's wonderful to listen to you talk.
Thanks.
Hey, I want to remind everybody, please check out our websites for our campuses. Realchurch.org will give you everything you need to know about the Forest Lake campus. MaranathaChisago.church will give you everything you need to know about the Chisago Lakes campus. And both of these churches' campuses are extremely active. We have a lot of stuff going on within the church, a lot of stuff going on in the community. Even as summer continues and we get really busy, I want to remind you to maybe you're out of town on weekends and stuff, which is phenomenal. Enjoy the summer, but don't completely disconnect from the church. So look through the bulletins, check out the websites, and see all of the different things going on, and just stay plugged in. There's great kids stuff happening at both campuses throughout the course of the summer, and just a good thing to stay plugged in and check things out.
Yep.
So today, I want to continue. I'm not sure even what to call this. Maybe it's just going to be in pursuit of a relationship. So I'm going to try and lay a little groundwork here. We'll get into this and talk about a few things. But we know that, you hear talk about Christianity, and we say it's not a religion, it's a relationship, right?
Yes.
Like we even say this. People will talk to people and we'll say, I'm really not a religious person. And they kind of, some people look at you confused, right? Mm-hmm. Because we just look at people that go to church as religious people, which, yeah, to an extent, I'm a religious person. But the have a relationship, not a religion, really comes down to not going through the external doing and not doing a bunch of things without having the heart change relationship, right? Mm-hmm. The knowing Him, surrendering to Him, dying to yourself, like we talked about at church last weekend in Chisago. But really, there's the emphasis of having a vibrant, living relationship where there's conversation and there's love and there's honesty, just like any other healthy relationship. That's the same thing we can have with God. And so along those lines, now stay with me and see if this can make a little bit of sense. Along those lines, Denise and I were talking last night when we were ending our day sitting on the couch, which we love to do. And we were talking, and one of the things we talked about was how in a relationship, the relationship shouldn't be built essentially like a religion. So our marriage, the things that I do or don't do should not be based on like an oppressive mindset, a fear of getting in trouble, a fear of being punished. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Instead, it should come from, like, I want to do these things because of the relationship. Mm-hmm. Where, just like we emphasize this with God, it's like, don't just have a religion where you feel like there's a list of do's and don'ts and He's going to be so mad and He just wants to punish me and all that. Don't do what you do out of that. In the exact same way, when you think of relationships, like there's a love relationship there, and it's out of that love relationship that we do and don't do, because we want to honor, we want to respect, we want to adore and protect and cherish the other person in this relationship. And so again, it stems from that relationship. And so now, if you just think for a second as I say this, think of your relationship with the Lord. That relationship grows as you continue to surrender to Him and as you get to know Him. Mm-hmm. Right? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so I want to challenge us in the same way with our relationships. And I want to try and make this a broad relationship. It's easy for me to talk me and Denise, but I also want to talk me and Alice, me and Shane, me and James, me and Cindy, me and Chris, me and our kids, me and my mom and dad. All of the relationships we have in our lives that we have to try and navigate, it's like, what's the foundation of that? If the foundation is religion-like, then I believe we're missing an extremely important part of the relationship.
A fulfilling part of the relationship.
Very.
That's
yeah.
the fulfilling part. Not that everything has to be stars and fireworks.
Yeah.
Because there is some of life that's just,
Doing.
you just walk through and do because it needs to be done.
Yeah.
But there's so much more than that.
Right.
And so if you're thinking about your relationships and you're realizing that you're expecting stars and fireworks and it isn't, and so you're getting bored with it and you maybe just feel like bailing, there's so much more for you.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think the more comes from the getting to know.
Yes.
So that's why, like, for me, I love, even in this setting, sitting and listening to you.
Why?
Because
I love listening to you and I understand why.
yeah. Well, so I would say for all four of us, just to kind of, use us as an example here. There's different relationships here, okay? Obviously, there's our relationship, which is a marriage relationship.
Right.
But then there's yours and Shane's relationship, which is a friend, coworker, male-female relationship.
Right.
And then there's yours and Alice's relationship, which is a female-to-female coworker friend relationship.
Right.
And as we sat here listening to you, we, all of us in whatever sense or category our relationships fell, we were learning about you.
Yeah.
We were getting to know you. We had the opportunity to sit here and watch you talk about that. And I don't know about you guys, but what I see is, like when she's talking about that soup, like she gets excited about
Yes, she
soup.
did. Yeah, eyes light up, and yeah,
Right.
You can see the brain blinking. Yeah, like you were literally cooking a meal right there, and you were
Yeah. Hard to, yeah, I do like soup.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something that's great. You said that. So that's what we all now, because we're here, we got to see and listen to that, and we learned about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's that learning that brought all of our relationships, and all three of us, our relationship with you is all a little bit different. And but it all went a little bit deeper. And I know some people listening, you're gonna think, Bill, you're just being ridiculous today. This is all a stretch. But I want you to listen to me. Because it's a little piece that just deepened that relationship. And that's what ends up happening when we look at our relationships differently. Do you know what I'm saying? Some of the conversations you and I have had, some real
Talking
life
to
conversations. Yeah, I'm sorry. We need cameras.
We do.
And my hands are everywhere.
Yeah.
But so Shane, you and I, so our relationship is different based on some of these man-to-man, coworker, friend relationship conversations where we've gotten to know each other a little bit more.
Yep.
Which is different than some of the conversations that Alice, you and I have had.
Yeah.
Male to female, coworker, friend relationships. So again, all of this, though, what I'm trying to say is the relationships that are in our lives are so much more when we learn about each other, when we pay attention, when we, like, I have a desire, Denise, to, like, I want to know you. That's why when you talk, it's like, I'm listening. But I'm not just listening, I'm watching and I'm learning, because it's truly that relationship. That's why we do,
Yeah.
You guys understand what I'm saying here?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why we do the relationship.
Right.
Yeah. Because of that knowing of each other. I totally understand what you're saying. And you do it very well. When I talk, you hear me. Yeah. Very well.
Well, I'm afraid. No, I mean, it's a love thing. But here's my challenge is, okay, like, I want to apply that everywhere in my life.
Yeah.
Because all of these relationships, there's value in there, and there can be growth, and it can enrich my life. Do you know what I'm saying? And so, again, I think of it that way, like to have these relationships where it's more relationship than it is religion. Not just our with God, but I think that's a great model of what these relationships should look like. Because when that's the focus, now all of a sudden, I think when it's a heart-to-heart relationship, man to man, friend male to female, man to wife, parent to kid, whatever it is, when it's relationship, I think everything changes. I think there's a depth that starts to form. There's a patience that starts to form. There's an understanding that grows. And out of all that now, it's enriched. It's fulfilling, like you said.
Absolutely fulfilling. And then when there is conflict or a misunderstanding, even, let's say, even when there is a conflict, you can see, based on my relationship with this person, it's just a misunderstanding or a mistake. This wasn't intentional, which makes the offense so much easier to handle. Because you have this relationship that says, you know what, this person, I know this person, and they would never do that intentionally to hurt me.
Right.
And so everything changes. Like you do out of this love or this understanding or this grace because of the relationship you have. Yeah, I think it changes everything.
Yeah. I think it's, in my head anyway, I think it's an interesting way to look at things.
Yeah. Well, it's a great way to verbalize it because it's true.
Yeah. Well, and I think there are marriages out there that are, it is a just go through the motions marriage, relationship,
right,
an obligation, and so, well, I'm just going to suffer through it, and again, like, it can be so much more than that. Whatever stage you're at, I think of James getting married here real soon.
Yeah.
Like don't put it on autopilot. Be fit, be focused and intentional, and take the time. Listen. I mean, all of these different little pieces it can bring about this exciting. It's like this never-ending journey, because we all get to talk to you, but it kind of sucked us in to listen to you talk about something you're passionate about. Well, that's a great step in these relationships, right?
Yeah.
So again, that's fulfilling, that's enriching, it's an adventure, it's joy. That's what comes from these types of things.
Right.
Not just obligation, not just, the old ball and chain type of thing, but no, there's so much more there, you know?
And there's a, like, the fulfilling part, it's, you became, like, we have a good relationship. And so I go to the grocery store and I'm still thinking about you.
Yeah.
I came home from the grocery store and I don't even remember what I bought. I don't remember. But
my water.
Oh, your flavored water.
Was it my flavored water?
I don't know.
Usually that or Nutty Bars.
Pretty simple guy to please, yeah. But I came home from the grocery store and I bought this stuff for you. And he goes, it's like you are, Bill says to me, he says, it's like you are, there's never a time when you aren't thinking about me. And I said, truly, there's never a time when I'm not thinking about you. Like when I'm grocery shopping, I'm buying, okay, Bill would like this and Bill would like that, or I could make this and Bill would like this meal. And it's all of our relationship just mushes together, and it's fulfilling even to go to the grocery store. And I don't like going to the grocery store.
Yeah.
But when I buy something for you, it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I would even challenge this. And again, this, I think, goes across relationships, those people that are important to you. There's, I think stuff like that all the time. But there was value to you in the fact that I verbalized, here's what that does for me.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's a...
You
okay.
telling me that
Yeah.
you recognize that I was thinking about you.
Yeah, because that makes me feel good. Like I said that because, because it's like I think things all the time, but I don't always verbalize those things, right? I think Alice does a phenomenal job creating things at the church.
She does.
But I don't always verbalize that. But I remember, like, she had a printout. You made a
lobby banner.
Yes, and you said, well, what do you think of this? And I looked at it and I put a couple notes on there. Just simple, hey, this is fantastic, great job, or something like that. And you then said, that means a lot to me. Oh,
yes.
So I think that all the time. I look at our posters, I look at our banners, I look at our bulletins, I look at our website, I look at all the stuff. Like, God, Alice does a really good job at this.
She does.
But to say the words there's so much value in it. And again, I know that maybe this is hodgepodgey today, but that's a little thing that to me says it's relationship. Like those words and your response is like, okay, this is what we need to do because this matters. Right? You understand what I mean? Your message, just giving you a little bit of feedback on the message that you're going to be sharing this weekend.
Talking to Shane.
Talking to Shane, yeah, sorry. And it just that little bit, well, and you verbalizing back, I appreciate that. It's like, okay, Shane's open to this stuff. That relationship now, it's richer.
Mm-hmm.
More rich? Richie rich.
More betterer.
It's more betterer. But do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree, and I think the more you get into it, the deeper you go, the better things can get. Because think about sharing with somebody that you're with all the time, you truly love, springs out of that little things that make the world is your inside jokes. And that's where these things come from.
Yeah.
It's because you intentionally care about someone, you love them so much, and then you both find something hilarious. Next thing you know, you have inside jokes. And it just also, it made me realize, like, if you go to a family function, why is it so much harder to talk to somebody you haven't talked to for years? Well, because it's just like you said earlier, analysis by paralysis. I have so much I could potentially say to you that I don't want to say anything to you.
Yeah.
I would actually rather stay away from you because I don't even want to get into this whole big ball of wax I call a life.
That's funny.
You know, so it's easier with it is important because you need to be involved in people's lives. You need to have those inside jokes. You need to know each other inside and out, genuinely develop those relationships and care. And then it's like another phrase too. It's like when people say, "Oh, you guys make it look so easy," and it's like, well, because if you genuinely love and care for somebody, it is easy because you're doing it again out of that care and that love for that person. So you're not even thinking about them.
It's not
just
work.
It's not work. It is easy because this is genuinely on my heart all the time. So it just makes it easy.
yeah. And that's a great way to describe that. I don't know, what you just said is what I kind of mean by don't look at your relationships out of the religion, like the work standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a great way to articulate it. You know?
Well, yeah, the religiousness to me, the way you phrase it, to me, it just comes across as the word tradition. You're just saying, well, I like all these traditions. You seem like a person full of traditions. And that's essentially where that is coming from. It's like, no, I'm not all about traditions. I'm all about wanting to get to know you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not interested in what you did last year and why you do it every year.
Yeah.
Maybe later in our conversations I can get to know that about you. But
Yeah. But I want to know you as a person.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's that will then drive the relationships and a positive environment.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know?
It's good stuff. Everybody
But
just
I didn't
thinks
mean
they're
to kill
radio
stuff.
guys.
It's just
You didn't know. I just thought it would be funny to just not talk for a second. It'd be awkward silence.
Everybody's reaching for their podcast.
Yeah. So
Did I lose signal?
my internet is out. Dang it.
The stupid phone.
So I guess I want to. Some of this stuff, though. I will say this: if this all is new to you, and you're like, "What? I get it, but I don't understand it." I want to say this: like, if you ask questions, like, be interested in whoever it is that you're wanting to grow that relationship with, like genuinely. But it has to start somewhere. So if you're married, familiar relationships, coworkers, friends, whatever it is, and you're realizing that some of these relationships are just kind of the religion aspect of it, it's just work, then maybe kind of peel back some layers to why does it feel that way? Like, what's missing? Be curious, get to know that person you're with, and be willing. The other part is be willing to share who you are, you know? That's why more and more to me, what I want to do, I want to tell you, Denise, those types of feelings.
Yeah.
Like I want to tell you when that thought is in my head, you know?
Yeah.
I want to text you when I'm missing you or thinking about you. Like, I notice someone's like, oh, that's just corny. I'll tell you what, I don't care if it's corny. I want a rich, fulfilling marriage. And I am discovering the more that I do this kind of stuff, it is rich and fulfilling, you know?
Oh. So today, James was playing the video from this weekend when you're in your suit. We were talking about it because we were adjusting some things. And when I was up there, I said, damn, he looks good in his suit. You don't have to agree with me, James, but I'm okay. So I just wanted you to know that.
And did James play the Crickets app?
No, I let him up the hook. Right? Like, you don't have to respond.
Yeah.
I know this isn't your thing. But I was just in my head, so.
That's funny.
You look good in a suit,
Thanks.
babe.
Yeah. Coat of paint on an outhouse. But that's again, I think this could be a months long of shows talking about the different aspects of trying to make a rich relationship. And like, it might feel awkward to start some of this stuff, like to say something to somebody, a friend, a relative, a spouse, a kid, that is like totally from left field because it's not what you normally do.
Right.
It's going to feel different. But here's something I said recently to somebody, and I kind of like how that makes sense. If you start doing this kind of stuff, initially, it's going to feel like you put on a new pair of work boots.
Yeah.
Like you need a new pair because the old aren't working anymore. So you're gonna get a new pair of work boots and you put them on, and initially they might hurt your feet a little bit. It's gonna be awkward, but within a matter of how long? A month? They're broken, and now you can't imagine life without them. And it's actually going to be sad when those wear out because they're so comfortable and they're your favorite. That's the exact same way I look at some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It might feel awkward to go to your spouse and express an inner emotion that you've never done before, but honestly you've wanted to. It might feel awkward to tell your buddy what he means to you. It might seem weird, but eventually, if you start, it's going to feel so normal that you're going to miss it when it's not there. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's why my biggest encouragement is if you're noticing like that something's lacking in your relationships as a whole, you know, as a man or a woman, if you look at your friends, that circle, and you say, hey, you know what? There aren't any guys that really know me in my circle. Well, is it because the guys aren't of good quality and you don't want them to know you? Or is it because you don't share? Like, then make those relationships deeper, you know? But take the step in your marriage. It's like, if you're a guy and you don't tell your wife she's beautiful, then take the step and try it. You know, that you appreciate her, you're thinking about her. If you're a woman and you don't tell your husband he looks great in his suit, or you thank you for killing rabbits or whatever, you know, I mean, it's like it feels weird, and I get that it feels weird, but take the step and try, because eventually it will become the norm.
Yeah, and the more you do it, easier it becomes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just the first step of saying, you know what, things can be better than this. We don't have to stay like this.
Yeah.
There
Which
can
doesn't
be
always
more.
mean that it's not like there's all kinds of things wrong,
Right.
but could there be more?
Right.
Again, whether it's friends or marriages or parent to kids, I mean, it's like, you look at these important relationships, could there be more?
Yeah. And I would say the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
You can always learn more about somebody.
Yeah.
You can always do more for somebody. You can always accept more love from somebody,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And if there's broken pieces like there are in a lot of us, then start peeling back and get to what are these broken pieces and find that healing and reconcile those things or whatever you have to do so that you can have these rich relationships. As we almost tend to close, we didn't even get to everything, but I don't want to start this other part. You know, one of the things that I've noticed, and I heard Pastor Mike say this for years, and now it's something I observe and say is, you know, you never come across somebody that is either on their deathbed or hearing testimonies about somebody that has passed away. You'll never hear somebody on their deathbed say, I wish I would have closed one more deal, or I wish I would have made another $1 million, or I wish I would have bought a newer truck or a nicer boat or anything. But what you hear them say is, I wish I would have spent more time with my spouse, my kids. The stories you hear at a funeral are the stories about relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Recently one where, and I read the stories from the grandkids at this funeral, and I'm telling you what, well, it got me. It was hard to even get through because it had to do with hunting with Grandpa and Grandma's baking. And I mean, it's these types of things that are like, it's all relationship. And so as we learn this, even that we're created this way, like we're created to be in these relationships with Him and with others, right? With God and with others. then let's not put all of our relationships on the back burner. Like, let's look at these relationships first and foremost with God. Let's have a relationship. Let's know him, and let's be willing to surrender to him and share our deepest hurts and fears with him. But then with other people, like, let's look at our life, all these different relationships, and let's be rich in our relationships with people. Whether it's few or many, let's be rich.
Yeah.
Amen.
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 Amen. Well, thank you all for joining us. Thank you three for being here, and anybody and everybody that's listening now or later. Hope you have a great day. Bye for now.
Bye now. Thanks for joining In Pursuit with Pastor Bill and me, Denise. We hope you will tune in next Thursday at noon as the pursuit continues. In Pursuit is a production of WAJC, Your Life Radio, on 88.1 and 91.7 FM. WAJC is owned and operated by Maranatha Assembly of God in Forest Lake, Minnesota. The opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of the owner.